Honor robot phone. Yep, you heard that right. A smartphone with a literal robotic camera. Honor just officially launched this beast in China, and it features a massive 200-megapixel camera mounted on a motorized titanium gimbal. It physically rises right out of the back of the phone, tracks subjects using AI, and pulls off these wild cinematic camera movements.
Which brings us to the big question we're unpacking today. Is this actually the future of smartphone photography? And look, I want to be absolutely clear right out of the gate here. This is not just some flashy 3D concept video. This is a real, commercially available device that you can go out and buy right now. It's attempting to completely flip mobile imaging on its head by bringing physical robotics right into our everyday carry.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. The robotic camera. 2. AI subject tracking. 3. Cinematic video and ARRI. 4. Flagship specs. 5. Audience and price. And finally, 6. The mechanical trade-offs.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the robotic camera, and visualize how this hardware actually works.
Just look at the sheer physical presence of this camera module. Pretty much every other flagship phone out there relies entirely on software stabilization or digital cropping. But this mechanism physically moves the 200-megapixel camera. When you open the camera app, that titanium gimbal literally rises up from the rear chassis. It's giving you optical stability, framing adjustments, and physical tracking before the light even hits the sensor. That is a radically different approach to mobile photography.
Now, check out this transparent X-ray view. This reveals the internal gears of what Honor is calling their 4 degrees of freedom titanium agile gimbal. It's honestly kind of mind-blowing. They somehow managed to shrink down a 3-axis mechanical stabilization system, the kind you'd normally find on a big, bulky handheld gimbal, and fit it inside a phone that is just 9.6 millimeters thick. And to put that engineering into perspective, 2.6 grams. That is the actual weight of the ultralight titanium gimbal motor inside this phone. It's practically nothing. Honor says it's 65% smaller than traditional gimbals. They apparently had to use over 100 patents and dozens of precision manufacturing tricks just to make a motorized arm that's strong enough to whip a high-resolution camera around, but light enough to actually live inside a smartphone.
All right, moving on to Section 2, AI subject tracking. Basically, the phone acting as your own personal camera operator.
So how does this actually play out in real life? It's all about this lightning-fast feedback loop. Say you set the phone down on a table and double-tap your subject. First, the AI identifies them. Second, it calculates and anticipates where they're moving. Third, and this is the crazy part, instead of just zooming in digitally, the phone physically drives that 2.6-gram motor to move the gimbal. Fourth, the camera reframes perfectly. And fifth, the AI is continuously checking the position in milliseconds. If you pace across the room, the camera literally turns its head to follow you.
But it's not all strictly serious business. Honor built in their Yo-Yo AI assistant, and it really shows off the fun side of embodied AI. Because the camera can physically move, it can actually show expressive body language. The phone can nod its little head in agreement, shake it firmly if it's disagreeing with you, and even bob along to the beat of your music. Actually, Honor even programmed it to do a little backflip just to cheer you up. It totally transforms a standard piece of consumer tech into a bit of a robotic companion.
Which brings us to Section 3. Cinematic video and ARRI. We're talking pro filmmaking on mobile.
This side-by-side comparison hits the nail right on the head. Over on the left, we've got the compact Honor RoboPhone, and on the right, a massive, legendary ARRI cinema camera. If you're into film, you know ARRI. They're the German giants of professional cinema equipment. Honor actually partnered with them to bring cinema-grade expertise straight to this mobile device. By contrasting that huge traditional Hollywood rig with a pocket-sized RoboPhone, you really get a sense of the massive leap Honor is trying to make for mobile filmmakers. So what do you actually get from this ARRI partnership? Well, you get native log-C3 video encoding and ARRI wide gamut 3 workflow. Now, I know those terms might sound like total gibberish if you're a casual user, but for editors, they mean absolute maximum flexibility for color grading and post-production. And when you combine that with AI Spin Shot, where the gimbal automatically executes these flawless 90 or 180-degree cinematic pans with just one hand, you're basically getting Hollywood-level camera moves without hauling around a ton of external gear.
Let's check out Section 4, Flagship Phone Specifications. What's going on beyond that gimbal?
Because to be clear, this isn't just a gimmick. Look at this camera system breakdown. Yes, the main motorized gimbal camera is 200 megapixels, but right next to it, they packed in another 200 megapixel periscope telephoto camera with 2.7x optical zoom. Add in a 50 megapixel ultra-wide that also handles macro shots, plus a 50 megapixel front camera, and you are looking at a true high-end triple camera setup. It covers everything from sweeping wide-angle landscapes right down to that highly specialized gimbal video.
Of course, running all of this requires some serious horsepower. Think about it. You need massive computing power to simultaneously handle real-time AI tracking, heavy image processing, and smoothly drive a physical motor. That's exactly why they loaded it up with the top-tier Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 processor and up to 16 gigs of RAM. And to keep a whole operation from dying in an hour, they squeezed in an absolutely massive 7,060 milliamp-hour battery. That is a gigantic power cell to hide behind a 6.31-inch 120Hz OLED display.
Next up is Section 5, Target Audience and Price. Who is this thing actually for?
At the end of the day, this phone is essentially the ultimate all-in-one setup for creators. If you're a solo vlogger, or say a fitness or dance creator who absolutely needs to stay in frame while moving around, this is a total game changer. Same goes for travel videographers who are sick of packing a heavy tripod and a separate DJI gimbal. It literally replaces 3 pieces of equipment with one device. But let's be real, if you just text your friends and occasionally snap a picture of your dinner, yeah, this is probably overkill for you.
And honestly, the price tag totally reflects that specialized luxury vibe. The robot phone is launching right now in China, starting at 9,999 Chinese yuan, so we're talking roughly 1,400 to 1,500 US dollars. And if you want the maxed out 1 terabyte model, that'll run you nearly 13,000 yuan, or well over 1,900 bucks. So yeah, this is ultra premium pricing for sure. It firmly positions the device as a professional tool and a bleeding-edge tech showcase, rather than just your standard run-of-the-mill smartphone.
Finally, Section 6, the mechanical trade-offs, because you are definitely giving up some simplicity here.
We have to be objective and weigh the pros against the realities of the hardware. On the plus side, obviously, you get that superior optical stabilization, the completely magical AI subject tracking, and the creative panning. But look at the risks over on the right. Whenever you introduce moving parts to a phone, durability over a few years is always a huge question mark. Plus, because of that motorized arm, you only get an IP54 rating for water and dust, not the fully submersible IP68 you'd expect at this price point. And with all those motors and that massive battery, it's a pretty chunky device, weighing in at 248 grams.
Which leaves us with this final, really important question to ponder. Would you actually sacrifice standard phone durability, like top-tier water resistance and a slim, lightweight body, in exchange for a literal robotic camera in your pocket? Honor is betting big that for creators, the answer is an absolute yes. It is a wildly bold vision for the future of mobile design, and whether it becomes the new normal or just remains a really cool niche tool, it is undeniably fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.